Welcome to Boating Insights. This is a podcast about achieving your boating dreams, brought to you by Above and Beyond Boating. We deliver the leading courses to skipper your own boat. I'm Neil Driscoll, and today on this podcast I'm going to be talking to you about some ideas for the safety equipment that you carry on your boat or that might be on a boat that you sail on. So first of all, I just want to set this one up. Please do not listen to this podcast and then go out and buy something. That's when the team of mentors and we always feel like we've failed if we give a presentation and off the back of that someone just goes out and buys things. Because what we're always trying to do is, one, yes, we don't want you to compromise on safety, but we want you to get out there and use what you've got and understand what you've got, and not just listen to a podcast, watch a video, go to a presentation, and then go, oh yeah, okay, I need to buy some of those and shove them in a locker and not know how to use them. So, first of all, I want you, next time you go to the boat, to have a look and see, what have we actually got? And, that might be floating torches, emergency tillers, man overboard recovery, slings, life jackets, flares, V-sheets. Might not be anything, in which case you might be the exception where you may need to go and get something. But when you have a look and see what you've got on board, the next question is, how does this actually work? Like, if it's a flare, how do I activate this flare? If it's a rescue sling, how do I get into it? How do we use it to get someone back onto the boat? What does it attach to? How do I pack it away? And so on and so forth. You could do this for everything. Well, hopefully you will. The next question to ask yourself is, when would I use it? Often people think that they need something else, or they're not prepared, or they've got something and they haven't thought about it, and they don't really know how they would use it. And so the big one here is, when would I use my handheld orange flare opposed to a red one? When would I use the boarding ladder to bring someone over the stern opposed to maybe a recovery sling to bring them up at the midships using a halyard? When would I use the DSC button on my VHF radio opposed to when would I do a voice mayday? Now, these are just some examples, but the whole point with this is that then as you start to look at things, you start to understand what you've got, obviously, how it works, when you'd use it, and that would lead to, can anyone else use it? And if the answer is no, that's something that you might want to address maybe in a safety briefing or a crew training session, or just a casual chat. Really depends on who you sail with and kind of boating you're doing or about to do. But once you go through all these questions, then things start to become self-explanatory, because as long as you're always referring back to the type of sailing that you're doing, it becomes clear whether you are set up properly or not. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what you own. If you don't know how it works, when you'd use it, and there's no one else around that could use it, then whether or not you own it, you don't really have a solution. What I also find is that, some things are used once in a very specific circumstance, like flares, but a lot of things, if you think it through and you understand them more, you might find that there's more than one use for a specific thing, and that therefore one feels more valuable to you that you own it, but two, it also means that when you come to use it in an emergency, if you come to use it in an emergency, you'll feel a lot more comfortable if you have used it before and you understand how it works and how it rigs. Now, one of my favourites for this is the man overboard recovery sling, which I always encourage people that when some countries are a bit too cold to swim, but if you're lucky enough to do your boating somewhere where you actually can jump off the boat and, swim and do all that kind of good stuff, then consider, incorporating using the rescue sling. If you've got kids or teenagers on board, or, just younger people that are jumping around, maybe actually hook the rescue sling up to a halyard and use it as a kind of rope swing, jumping off the side of the boat. Or if you're not kind of a generation where you're still swinging off of halyards, maybe make that the thing that you stream out the back of the boat, so you've got a line off the back for people to grab hold of. The important thing is that if you are ever using something, the more comfortable people are with the equipment, the more likely they are to be able to give you the result you need, be it pulling someone back on the boat, getting control with the emergency steering, setting off a flare so a helicopter can identify which of the 2,000 yachts is yours when it's coming into Sydney Harbour trying to airlift someone out. And you'll find, if you listen to this and you think, oh yeah, I'm going to do that, one of the problems is then actually going from listening to me right now to working your way through all the equipment. And even when you do this every day like I do, and you're pretty familiar with how everything works, it's still a massive job. So what I want you to do is just try and pick one piece of safety equipment each time you go to the boat for a little while, hopefully till you've got through everything, or if not, till you get bored of this. And just do this. What is it? How does it work? When would I use it? Can anyone else use it? And just do that for one thing. The next time you go, pick something else. Maybe even if you sail together, with someone else on board, or as a group of you, you could each pick something each time, so that gradually you're upskilling everyone. And then hopefully in time, you'll work your way through. I'm sure there'll be some things that you suddenly realise none of you have got any idea about, and other things that you go, oh cool, we've all got a handle on that. That's really good news. I remember a boat I worked with a few years ago where the skipper had a whole bunch of stuff, and he was very, very diligent, and used to give quite long safety briefs, possibly too long. Actually, certainly too long. But I had a feeling that no one else on board actually had absorbed anything, and we did a pop quiz once where I got him not to answer, and I asked a few people some questions: where the grab bag was, where the flares were, how the bilge pump worked on board. And what quickly became apparent was that no one other than him actually knew where anything was or how anything worked, and they were all just relying on the fact, because he was so diligent, that he had a handle on it. But I mean, the obvious issue there is, what if something's happened to him, or he's okay but he actually needs them to step up and do stuff without having to give too many instructions? So what we did is exactly what I'm talking about. They actually picked for that boat, and each member of the crew gave a quick safety briefing where they highlighted a piece of equipment just before each twilight race, and really got the result they were looking for. So get out there, have a go, and remember, never compromise on safety.